Afternoon. Call the Budget Committee to order and ask for approval of the minutes from December 3rd, 2020. Moved by Supervisor Beatty, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Carried.
Do I abstain since I wasn't on the budget committee last, was I? I know I wasn't on the budget.
Neither was I.
Oh, all right. Well, I didn't want to come back and fight me, so I don't know.
Everything bites.
All righty. Action agenda and business items. We don't really have any action items. We do have some discussion items though. First item, I think most everyone's aware of this from the treasurer's monthly report. I just want to state what our fund balances are minus what we just set aside or reserved here this morning. But the general fund for 2020 is at $26,832,093. The county road fund is $1,223,000. Call it 224. It's 936. And road machinery is 578,000. So that's a pretty healthy general fund balance. And I would lay credit for that general fund balance directly to the county administrator and the prior budget officer with their deficit reduction program that they put together last year. Nobody was sure of what revenues we would have last year or where we would end up. And they managed to not spend about $3.5 million. So that's, and I was concerned at one point that we would have to reappropriate that money because I had it in my head that this money had been removed from their budgets, which technically it hadn't been. It was just not spent. So this money is basically there. I mean, it's we don't have to reappropriate it because we didn't reduce the budget. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but so going forward in 2022, I'm back to I've had several people ask me about some of the reserves. A couple of them were liquidated. And I think that if we have this kind of funds available, and plus we also have the federal relief money of 12.3 million, I think, which the rules on that are not clear, but they are somewhat clear. And I think that the county will have money available from there. I think we need to take another look at the reserves that were established in the 2020 budget, 2019. I know one area that is planning. I know planning is wanting some money set aside for future, not only for future grants, but future capital projects to do assessments and preliminary planning to help with getting grants. So, but so as you can see on the agenda, the first was SUNY Adirondack. I do think we took away part of that money. Yeah, thank you. Yes, the $150,000 was liquidated. I think the 100,000 for the capital improvements was left there. And the capital improvements plan money was also liquidated to the tune of 150. So, but that's up to that's why we have a committee, and I'm not I guess I'm kind of advocating maybe to reestablish these, but you know, that's again, it's up to the committee. I'd like to see how everybody feels about it. Yes, Supervisor McGowan.
That's a very healthy report you just gave us, and you know, a lot of hard work and planning, and you know, a lot of grinding some teeth and cutbacks. If we're able to, I would like to you know, reestablish them, and you know, maybe if possible, if we could do a little catch up.
Right.
The money we put, you know, I would go on your recommendations, because I have full faith as being our budget officer of knowing. I don't have that the sheet, but that you're reading off, but that I feel comfortable with the recommendation. But you know, like I said, I'm just one of the 5 of us here, so.
Right. And I think a lot of it, I think, depends on what we can do with the federal money and what chunk of that is available. Yes, Mr. Treasurer Swan.
Just a quick comment about the federal money. We went through the initial calculations as to how the revenue loss, and we got the 6.2 million this year. Right now, we can show a $9.3 million revenue loss. And we've verified that with our independent outside auditors. So basically what that means is that 6.2 million we have right now, there is no limitation on it because it can all be shown as revenue loss. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that you have to designate it all as revenue loss. You can play with that a little bit if you want. Now, I know that we've talked about getting a committee together and talking about it, but and that's not part of my decision. I just want to make sure you understand that at this point in time, the way everything laying out right now, that whole 6.2 million we have already on hand can pretty much be used any way we want to use it.
Oh.
It's more some encouraging news.
Yeah, definitely.
Am I like the only one going to speak here in the committee? Hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What specifically are we, well, we're just in a discussion phase here.
Right.
Are you asking that we increase the amount we're funding SUNY Adirondack? Is that a specific question, or am I just, I'm not sure exactly what we're doing.
I think that the SUNY Adirondack is a difficult situation.
Mm-hmm.
I say difficult, maybe that's not the right word, but whatever we do, Washington County has to kind of match. And I think that's where we ran into a little roadblock before, prior to the COVID thing is we can add, we could add $500,000 to it, but then that negatively affects them, and I'm not sure that they're ready to come along with us. So
I have a follow-up.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, yeah, we're partners with Washington County.
Right.
And as we make decisions, obviously it affects them and vice versa.
Right.
I believe SUNY Adirondack's one of a number of colleges, if not all, that will be receiving additional funds too. I'm comfortable where we are currently.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt Washington County.
Nope.
And I'm confident SUNY Adirondack will have more than enough funds to operate in a manner that they feel is conducive to good education, providing a solid education. So I'm comfortable staying where we are right now with our funding on SUNY Adirondack.
Very good. Yes, Mr. Berman.
I just wanted to back up for a minute. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Treasurer Swan. So we show a 9-point-some-odd million loss. And we've got 6.3 million coming in. That still leaves us roughly 3 million in the hole. But is that loss not affecting departments or, you know what I'm saying? In other words, you got a loss and you don't have a 100% offset. Is there any, what's the effect there?
Basically, that $9.3 million revenue loss is the result of the calculations that the Treasury has put out that we can use to calculate our loss. In reality, we have not lost any money.
That's the key word, I guess, reality.
Okay, but doing their calculations with the way things were set up and some of the things that our auditors actually had us do a couple of years ago, it does show that loss. But it's not a real actual dollar loss, okay? And the thing is that next year we'll be getting another $6.2 million to balance to get to the 12 million. And we will have to do that calculation all over again next year to see how much loss we have in revenue in relation to that next payment of 6.2 million. So next year we could be in the same boat we're in now, or we could, not show anything. Depends on how they do their calculations.
Very good, I appreciate that. Good explanation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Garrity.
Yeah, I'd like to see us restore the money to the planning department, though. I do think that's important to allow the planning department to move ahead with some of their grants planning. And they do a lot of good work, and they have that, so to speak, seed money over there helps them out.
Right.
So they can move ahead with writing grants. I think it's important. At least 150,000, if not increase it to 200,000. I think it's important that we allow them a little latitude.
Plus, there's also the capital projects, the whole list of capital projects. I don't think anybody assumes that we can do them all, but, it's
Right.
possible that we could look at a few of those and get something. Yes, Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I just, I agree with Supervisor Garrity on that, the planning department, but my main concern was really for the capital improvement project. It's very expensive what we have on our list to do, but I really feel that we need to stay focused on that, especially with the bipartisan voting coming out for the infrastructure. There could be some money coming down the road for our infrastructure and that, but I really would like to stay on top of on our plan on our infrastructure and our roads, as Kevin Hajo has brought up, and how to do things. But I know we trimmed that back during the COVID, but whatever, I'd like to keep those on our eyes open up on keeping that money flowing there to keep that for what we need in the future.
You want that in form, Mr. Chairman? You want that in form of a motion on the planning?
Sure. Can we do that? Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would make a motion, we reestablish was the planning reserve fund?
Yep.
I would raise it up to $200,000. I'd make that a motion to raise it up to 200,000.
Motion introduced by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Further discussion? Yes, Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you, Chairman Thomas. I know I'm not on the committee, but I certainly want to just reflect my comments that I think we do need to work further on a countywide comprehensive plan. I know Supervisor Hogan is working on that with Wayne Lamothe, and they are starting that piece about the strategic recreation plan. But in order for us to have like a comprehensive and I don't know, meaningful plan for implementing our infrastructure capital improvement project list, we should have a comprehensive plan. So I think, this money, and I've asked for this before, you guys if you'll recall, money for the planning department to go forward with a comprehensive plan. That the infrastructure, the capital infrastructure program will be a piece of it, just like the recreation plan is a piece of that overall plan. So I'm not opposed to that 200,000. Thank you.
Yes, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and of course, thank you for holding this meeting and updating our community and our members on the budget landscape. I did have an opportunity to speak with planning the other day, and I agree that our comprehensive plan for Warren County needs to be updated. They shared with me that our mission statement is from 1970 and is in need of a little bit of dusting it off and putting it back together. And is that something that in that 200,000, that's enough to get that ball rolling, or do there need to be additional dollars?
I'm not sure what, I know Wayne talked about it. I'm not sure what his estimate was on a comprehensive plan. I want to say he said something like 350,000 or something like that. But, yes.
I will say, between that and the capital plan, it's so important. I know that we picked a couple out items off for the county capital plan that we had for our community that we've gone to another agency to put in for federal fundings for a couple of projects. So I think those two things are the major ones that we need to keep focused on, the capital plans. And then the roads, which we were going to borrow a bunch of money to bring our road projects back in line with those things. And I'm all for it, but I just thought if we could reward the planning department and give them a start, that would be great. And then, like I said, the capital plan is so easy now. You go in and look at your capital plan. We actually completed a project about the capital plan with Sarah. And so those are great tools, what they're doing over there. So.
Yes, Supervisor
Yeah,
Beatty.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concerns are, we had over $200 million in requests from the towns and the city. We don't have nearly that amount of money.
No.
So as we start wanting to look at helping the different towns and the city, I'm very concerned how this is going to be approved, which plans get, which town gets approved, which one doesn't. Does Chestertown get approved for 2 or 3 because Craig, or because whatever, or does Queensbury get totally left out because a lot of people feel that we're a strong economic community? I know in Queensbury, we put aside a lot of money for capital projects. So already, the residents are spending a lot of their tax dollars for capital projects, and I approve of that. What is concerning to me down the road here is, will Queensbury be just pushed to the side because we've been strong stewards of our dollars? Or how will that work? See, there's a lot of moving parts right now when we're talking about $200 million in capital improvement projects that were submitted. And we have, 5 or 10 million to, I don't know who's going to be the ones who decide where the priority list, who gets shut out, who doesn't, who gets, I'd like to know that process. That's going to be very important,
Right.
I think. The general idea is fine, but as they say, the details are, the devil's in the details. I mean, what if Stony Creek didn't get anything? And what if Warrensburg got everything? And what if, I could see, and what if Glens Falls got nothing and Queensbury got something? And, it's just I'd like to know the process that we're going to use, who's going to be on that process, and how this is going to come to fruition. So, thank you.
Yes, Supervisor
I
Garrett.
guess I'm confused. What are you suggesting, that the money is going to come from the county?
Aren't we talking about using some of that $6.3 million to fund some of these capital projects?
Well, I wasn't sure. I mean,
That's-
I don't think we've gotten that.
Well, where's the
far.
money coming from then?
I think it's what we're talking about is 200,000
No, I understand
to
that
do
part.
some assessments on whatever capital projects.
But we're all talking in this room.
Right.
About, this capital list
Yep.
that all the towns submitted about 2 years ago. That was over $200 million of wish list. So where are we going to come up with the money? I assume that we're talking about some of this recovery money to help fund some of those capital projects on that $200 million list. Now, if not,
I thought I was talking.
if,
I thought I had the floor.
Yeah.
I did.
Oh.
I thought that, I thought honestly, all this was for is to keep the list updated. I don't expect Warren County to pay for my projects. I was just touting how well the capital project list works. You look at that capital project list. I picked two projects off there. I went to a different planning group, and they're going to apply for funding for those. I don't expect the county to take what I put on that list and expend the money. Is that what you were talking about, Frank? Or?
My understanding of this reserve is that these are dollars that, whatever capital project looks to be achievable, or maybe there's grant money available for it. This is money to get it prepared to apply for a grant, because everybody knows that if you've done a little preliminary work, a little planning on what the idea that you have or whatever project that you have, your chances of receiving grant funds either through the federal government or the state is a whole lot better. And in my understanding, that's what these funds are for.
I gotta leave.
So, I'm not opposed to putting money in to helping towns get grant money and so forth and so on. But we talk two different things here. We have this huge list of $200 million of capital projects.
Right.
Well, if it's not coming from the county, then you're saying it's coming from the state, I guess.
Well, grants, just like
Yeah.
you get grants for all
Right.
kinds of
But,
things.
but Mr. Garrity said that he doesn't need anything from the county, and that's great.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I'm glad he's on record saying that. But I'm still confused, because if this list of $200 million projects, the county's not helping with it. You're saying the state's going to do it through grants, and we're just helping the state. We're helping the towns get the grants. Is that correct?
I think that's what's
Is that-
gone on in the
okay.
past.
All right.
I think that is correct.
That's fine.
Yes. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. Well, Supervisor Garrity just said that. He went to Sarah Frankenfeld in the planning department and got help paying for some project in his town. All the towns use the county planning department for assistance with obtaining grants. That doesn't mean that we're, as expending county dollars necessarily to put their projects forward. I'm not sure where we are going though with this discussion and budget. Like, did I miss something? I mean, the American Rescue Plan funding, my understanding is the chairwoman is setting up a task force, I won't call it a committee, to look at that, which is separate from whatever we're doing in our regular budget process. Am I wrong on that, Chairman?
I don't know how you can claim it's separate. I don't. If this money's came back to the county for lost revenues, then how is it separate? I don't. It's all part of the same thing, right? Or are we going to set this totally aside? So I think it is an appropriate discussion. Absolutely. Yes.
Are you saying for budgeting purposes, you're using this as revenue for 2022?
Well, I
Okay.
need to know whether it's available to me. That's for sure.
Right, okay.
So if you're saying that it's going to be set aside separately, then somebody needs to convey that message. Yes, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Chairman Thomas. I think that decision is still ongoing with all the members of our board and our partners and our public. I know with our county administrator being on leave, when he gets back next week, he's been reading a lot of the interim guidance. And what NISAC advised us this past week at Intercounty is that it's still interim. It may always be.
Yeah.
And when we look at revenue, our revenue totals, to make sure we aren't including any of the Fed dollars in that we have to deduct that out. And I haven't had a chance to talk with our treasurer about that total. But I think many counties kind of rush to how are we going to spend all this money. I'm really proud of our county that we kind of sat back and said we need to review this, look at all the changing guidance already. We've seen guidance change with premium pay and those types of issues. I know it's going to be a topic brought up down in Maryland at NACO that we'll be learning more about that. So I look forward to having our budget officer, our finance chair, and I know many other members of the board, the community, but in particular the public, kind of weigh in on how to utilize this and make the biggest impact in our community that we can, taking into consideration things like our capital plan, but also what are some of those other things that we need to be ready for and prepared for in the event, God forbid, another remote situation, or how we can best invest some of those dollars. I know there's a lot of limitations. So I look forward, Mr. Chairman, to working with you and hopefully other members and our public to figuring this out with our treasurer. So I don't think we have any hardcore answers yet, right?
Okay.
Am I
Yeah,
following that correctly?
thank you.
Okay.
I'm not in a big hurry to spend this $6.3 million. If that's what you're trying to, I don't care if we spend it at all. I think we do have priorities and they've been talked about in the past. Some of them are the reserves, some of them is the catching up on the paving of the roads, but I'm sure that there's a whole bunch of other ideas too. So I'm not, whatever you want to do, but if I'm going to prepare a 2022 budget, which in this particular current circumstances shouldn't be too difficult, I would like to know if that money's available or not available. And I think that's yet to be totally determined. So yes, Mr. Swan.
The only thing I can say about that, the stimulus money is that you can't use it to lower the tax rate. Okay, so we have to be very careful, and we will be audited on that. The Treasury Department has said we will be audited. So however you use that money, we can't just say, okay, here's $6 million. We'll just throw it at the tax rate and lower the tax rate by $10, $1,000 or whatever.
Right.
We can't do that. It has to be used in another manner, but there's very little restriction on that other part of it, so long as we're not lowering the taxes.
Heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid.
We don't want that to happen.
Well, I've always, as I think most of you know, I've always been a fan of the one-time expense type projects, something that we can identify that's cost X amount and we appropriate the money, pay cash for it and get it done. But
This money.
I'm not advocating for anything in particular at this. That's why we have a committee.
Sounds good.
I would like the committee to think about what an acceptable level for the fund balance is, for the general fund balance, as to where we would like to keep that. I'm not asking for a number today, but I know the treasurer's made recommendations in the past. So I think we should keep that in mind. The only other thing that I have on the first part of the agenda, well, I think we've already talked about it. The countryside. I think we made accommodation for that today, at least to establish it and get it moving, hopefully in a good direction. I think it will be. The second part, number 2 on the agenda is the reports, which are all in your packet, except for, let's see, the Economic Development Corporation, the Local Development Corporation, and Lakes to Locks have not gotten back to us as of yet.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. So they're within your, all there. I don't know as we need to, unless you have specific comments about it or questions about any particular one. Yes, Chairwoman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you again for putting this on the agenda. I know last year, late in the year, we talked about being able to see where those dollars are going and what was done during 2020. For those that did not reply, I know our clerk made multiple attempts. I'd like to be able to send a letter just on behalf of our board or our budget committee asking for their 2020 update. I mean, it's certainly, I'd hate to see it affect, funding moving forward, but I think it's important that our community knows if we're, allotting tax dollars, how they're being spent.
I agree.
I agree too.
Do we need a motion?
I don't think so, just
No, I think we have the consensus of everyone here. So yes, please do.
Okay, great. And we'll draw that up so it comes from both of us, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Thank
Sure.
you.
We did have a resolution on the floor to add $200,000 to the planning capital projects assessment.
I'll second that.
It was made by Supervisor Garrity, who left, and seconded by Supervisor Bruno. We had quite a bit of discussion and I forgot about the resolution. So if there's no other discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next item, I don't know if the calendar was in your packet or not. No.
I was looking at the last page there and I didn't see it.
I think this is the latest one. Oh, it's one I have. It definitely is. Basically, well, we started yesterday on the 28th, setting up the positioning budgeting. I think Christie's going to get copies. So. And that's contingent on the health insurance increase, and also we have the retirement rates. Then we estimate the increases in the pay and stuff. That's the first part of July. Looks like the 21st we'll have a department head meeting to hand out the packets for the budget. Then start scheduling meetings through the first part of, or well, towards the end of July. Looks like August through, but pretty much the month of August will be budget review meetings with the departments. First part of September, department heads will meet with their respective committees to go over their budget. By around the 10th of September, the department head will have to submit their budget with the clerk. The first part of October, the footings will be established, which will establish the tax rate. I think by the 22nd, it says I have to file a budget with the clerk of the board. So it looks like November 5th will be the tentative budget meeting, board meeting. The chairwoman had asked to have it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's fine with me. That'll be November 5th. And I think, looks like probably the next board meeting is on the 19th of November, which at that point we'll hopefully adopt a new budget for 2022. Pretty much covers it. And, give these things some thought, and we'll have another, hopefully another meeting next month, and maybe we'll get to a little more definitive answers. Yes, Chairwoman Seaver.
Thank you. I'm so excited about this meeting, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry I have all these questions and comments. thank you for sharing this budget timetable. This was the first time that I've seen it. And I know you've done this in the past, but I really appreciate you sharing it with Budget Committee and with our public, because you put so much work into this. And I think it just speaks to how complicated the process is and how much attention to detail is focused on it. And I know both you work closely with all of us, but also with our finance chair, and hopefully this year with our personnel chair, and looking at performance-based, reflections on salaries as we start to look at performance work plans again. I know that was kind of put on hold during COVID, and Chairwoman Bramer and personnel has made it a point to work with our county administrator to try to set that calendar year so it starts in October 1 for a new performance review year. So it matches up with the budget for next year. So we didn't do mid-years this year, but I'm hopeful we'll be able to have finals in time for your consideration as a budget committee and as you do the budget for those positions. Those are such great tools for all of our employees to be able to utilize. But thank you again. And I look forward to a busy but informative budget season.
Yes, Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. I will echo that. I'm happy that we had this meeting and talk about some high level, just where are we going as a county? And the one thing I'd like to put on your radar, Chairman, is the idea about our, initiatives that we are working on going forward and trying to respond to things like pandemics, which hopefully we won't have ever again. But,
Right.
Our climate change initiatives does have a lot of, in areas where we can improve county operations and functions, and there would be money needed for matching grants. So I think it's really important because I don't think that this climate issue is going away anytime soon, especially with days like we had yesterday and today, I assume, but I haven't been outside for hours. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Motion to adjourn. Moved by Supervisor Beatty, seconded by Supervisor Bruno. All in favor?
Aye. Oh, sorry, I was looking at.
You do,
voting pictures.
you do